lost 3 family members this year from hospital infections. My great uncle, my uncle, and my cousin in East Texas from these deadly immune bacteria or resistant bacteria. So let me tell you something. This is a crime, and this is out of control, and this is head-spinning nuts. Now, we can speculate all day. We're going to have to today because we don't know. Why are they doing this? Are they just totally incompetent and insane in government? I don't think so. They have serious laws and policies in place saying they can't do this. Are they planning to release weaponized Ebola that a lot of globalists have talked about to reduce world population forcibly? Like University of Texas professor Eric Pianka that says he hopes airborne Ebola is released to kill 90% of us. Remember that made national headlines a few years ago? Are there certain parties that just hope it naturally gets out in the Obama administration or elsewhere? Or are they wanting to get the blood of these people to make bioweapons? I don't know. But I know this, it's illegal, it's reckless, it's dangerous, and it fits right in with open borders and executive rule by the dictator. Drug dealers, mules, criminals of every type fleeing justice from their other nations that they were leaving. Drug-resistant TB, scabies, the flu. The list just goes on and on. The Black Plague has popped up in Colorado. The plague, you know, the one that killed 30 to 40% of Europe's population? That southern border is wide open while there's the biggest Ebola outbreak in world history happening right now in Africa. And Germany and the United States are flying medical workers back to not be treated on military ships where they previously would have been treated. That was the previous policy. I went and looked it up. They're now bringing them not to government weapons labs or bioweapons research labs where they could maybe safely contain it. They're bringing it to mainline hospitals in Germany and the United States, like the Emory University Hospital in Atlanta. Ebola-infected U.S. aid workers due to arrive at Emory University Hospital. That was Friday. The first one arrived Saturday, and now they're saying more are going to arrive Tuesday. Second American with Ebola expected to arrive in U.S. ABC News. That's the latest. U.S. government seeking to test Ebola vaccine on humans. Ah, Reuters. Now we see what it's really all about. We have a new article out today on Infowars.com by Kit Daniels. Obama brings Ebola into America after signing executive order to detain sick Americans. In fact, ask Kit to move these articles back to the top of Infowars.com because they've rolled down to the bottom. And then we have an article from last week where Obama signed an executive order to allow detention of Americans with respiratory illnesses, and they say any sign of it, sneezing, coughing, you can be disappeared, even though that has nothing to do with Ebola, just a giant power grab. So this may just be hype, even though it's a real pandemic in Africa, to get on the books medical tyranny for forced inoculations for the flu, you name it, even though they admit last year in California, AP, that the whooping cough vaccine caused an outbreak of it. Yeah, my grandmother, by the way, 89 years old, still sharp as a tack. I'm going to go interview her this week. I'd always heard this when I was a kid, but she was talking about it again the other day. Nobody she knew had the polio until she got the vaccine. A week later, she got paralyzed and almost died, and it was right by an iron lung. They almost put her in an iron lung. And she's on crutches to this day. Ate about half the nerves in her body, half the nerves in her muscles. Benny Gray Salmon lives right here in Austin, Texas. A lot of folks know her. Involved in the community church, you name it, for 60-something years. And she said, no, that gave me polio. And, of course, we now know that over 100 million Americans were given cancer viruses that killed them, according to the CDC, in the first decade of the polio vaccine. Look it up. I'm going to do a special report this week on it with all the details. And that after they started giving the shot, it got worse. They wouldn't call it polio, though. They would call it just paralysis. And then the last 4 or 5 years, you've seen the headline where the polio vaccine in Pakistan and Africa was causing it, but they don't call it polio, they call it paralysis. And they still give the live virus, even though they're not supposed to. I was told that a few years ago by a medical doctor treating one of my children, well-known pediatrician, he just retired, probably one of the best known in Austin, I'll just leave it at that. And he basically got me by the shirt and he said, you don't say who I am, but you can say I'm a medical doctor. I volunteer at these city clinics every year to vaccinate the kids, and I'm not going to do it anymore. And I go, why? And he goes, they're giving East Austinites live, illegal 1963 batch live virus HPV 40. And he said, I thought you were nuts, but it's all true. And he goes, and I'm not going to be doing this much longer. And I mean, I'm talking a medical doctor with a huge practice with his eyes bugging out at me. I'd probably been to him 5-6 times, with well checks with my kids. I got 3 of them. And he just, for a minute, went ahead and just told me the truth. So, see, all these other doctors just want to play along with this. Paul Watson joins us for the balance of the hour. I haven't talked to Paul yet today, but he's one of the smartest people working at Infowars.com. I'll say this, he understands the New World Order just as much as I do. And I study this 18 hours a day. And Paul always comes up with stunningly accurate angles. I'm still in the speculation phase. I just know what's going on is totally illegal, totally reckless, totally dangerous. Paul Watson will detail it in the next segment coming up. But first off, you're writing articles for PrisonPlanet.com and Infowars.com and doing special news report videos. They're from our London studios. But so far, what does your gut tell you? I know they hyped up H1N1 5 years ago that wasn't real. Rappaport's pointing out they could be hyping this. But I don't know. My gut tells me there's some hype, but it's mainly spin. All the other crises that are breaking loose right now, the borders, Al-Qaeda, overthrowing Ukraine, the dollar devaluation, I've been predicting just a month ago, people can find the clips, that if I was the globalist, I'd pull some biological scare. And I'm on record, listeners, you know that. Well, somebody will find the clip and put it on InfoWars. Paul, what does your gut so far tell you this is?
I think it's a real threat, Alex, because of the very fact that they're not hyping it. Before the swine flu outbreak in 2009, which in comparison to Ebola was basically useless. It had a 0.04% mortality rate compared to, 90% for Ebola. But they fearmongered about that like it was the end of the world because they had the vaccine lined up beforehand, the pharmaceutical companies who were caught influencing the WHO and the governments. Wolfgang Wodog exposed that. They had it lined up beforehand. They made millions and millions of dollars. And now this time around, it turned out that the FDA actually blocked an Ebola vaccine that was proven to work on humans just recently, just in the last couple of months. So they're actually blocking the vaccine, which could be the solution to this problem. So that's why I think it is a real threat, simply because they're not hyping it.
I agree with you. And again, I didn't know your view on this yet. I know you've still been collating. This is real, and I looked into it. I know you're working on an article for Monday on this, but they've never brought live Ebola with an infected communicable patient, a spreader, a vector, into a Western country. What in the hell is Germany and the U.S. doing?
It's amazing, Alex, because, I mean, you can look at these facilities online in the hospitals. They're basically just beds surrounded by a transparent tarpaulin screen. It's amazing. What concerns me is we know that governments have released viruses from labs before. Headline, foot and mouth virus released from government lab. 2001. This was from Porton Down, which is basically a military
Stay there. This is too huge. Stay there. That's BBC. Yeah, we're going to explain all the viruses that have been released from government labs before. Now they're putting them in regular hospitals. I mean, if it gets out, will Obama be held accountable? See, government's not ever held accountable anymore. So now they're just bringing Ebola in.
City of Austin tap water versus filtered City of Austin tap water.
I can taste dirt in it.
God knows what's in this.
These people just sampled City of Austin tap water straight from the faucet. Next, we had them try a sample of tap water filtered with a ProPure G2.0 filtration system.
That one is better.
Tastes like nothing.
Yep, I know what good water tastes like. It's good water.
Most tap water contains added substances like fluoride, chlorine, glyphosate, and many others. Studies prove that these substances are linked to an assortment weapon of major health issues, including tooth decay, lowered IQ, and even cancer.
It tastes like you're drinking out of the lake when you're drinking tap water.
The ProPure G2.0 filtration system removes these deadly substances, leaving only fresh-tasting, deliciously clean water.
Okay, this is very tasty.
It's good water.
Refreshing.
It's good.
Go to InfoWarsStore.com.